told you handling an objection in sales is a lot easier than it seems? What if I told you it's just a simple 3 steps? That's what we're going to learn today here in Sales is Easy. My name is Devon Gall. I'm your friend and mentor in business, marketing, and sales. Let's jump into it today. It's called Overcoming Objections. Ultimately, it's the closing loop. This is where we're closing the person to sign up. We're closing the person to move forward in the presentation. What I use is called the A.R.C method. There's a couple different ways to say this. I've heard it called many different things, but at the end of the day, this is just a simple acronym to help you remember. And I choose A.R.C because it kind of goes in a loop, right? First, stop and listen. When your prospect has an objection, your natural thing to do is immediately say, oh no, it's this. Oh no, it's actually like this. That's what an amateur or a new person does when they hear an objection. What you want to do is tilt your head slightly, stop, listen. And even if you've heard this same objection 1 million times and you know exactly what to do, you still want to stop, tilt your head, and let them, and give that what's called measured pause. When you have that measured pause, the customer is going to feel heard. They're going to feel heard. Remember, people, they remember how you make them feel, not what you say so much. So let them feel heard by stopping and listening, even if you know exactly what to say and you've heard this one 1 million times. Stop and listen. Next, we want to agree or acknowledge. Sometimes you can't agree with them. Sometimes they're dead wrong. That's okay. You need to at least acknowledge them. What this does ultimately is create empathy. It's another level of reinforcing that you've heard what they had to say. You're giving that measured pause, and then you're empathizing with them. One very simple way to do this is just repeat their objection back to them like a question. Oh no, I have to make sure the decision makers are involved. That's what the prospect says. You want to make sure, you will say, you want to make sure that all the decision makers are present? Or you want to make sure all the decision makers are there? You're just repeating what they're saying. Oh no, I'm worried about XYZ. So you're concerned about XYZ? That's it. It's very simple. You just repeat. There's other ways to acknowledge. There's other ways to agree. You can say, I understand. I hear what you're saying. You can say things like that. But I like to just repeat their objection back to them, because you're adding another layer in here. You're speaking the customer's language at this point. You're using their exact words. Next, we want to relate and then move into the rebuttal, right? Each X, Y, and Z each have their own specific rebuttal, but we want to relate first. This is where you're making the prospect feel common. You say you either relate through yourself, or you relate through other people, or even better, you relate through other people that have already signed up with you. Little quick pro tip we can add in here. You can say something like, that's perfect, or lean into it, really lean into it and say, I'm so glad you asked that. Other people I've signed up have asked that same question. Other people I've signed up have felt the exact same way. Other people I have signed up expressed that exact same concern with me. It's the same thing. It's always the same thing. You can change the words around a little bit, but you're just relating. You're making them feel common and like this. Everybody asks this. Yeah, you're a smart person. Smart people ask this. Smart people always ask this question. You don't want to say that just like that maybe, but you're implying this is very common. And then, those other people that I've signed up, they felt the same way. What they found out was, this is where we insert X, Y, or Z rebuttal, right? For this specific situation or circumstance or objection that they're talking about. Next, we have the call to action, the close. You're asking for the business. You're just asking them to sign up, or maybe you're not at that point yet. You're asking them still to move forward in the conversation because objections come up early. Objections come up early because they're trying to throw smoke bombs and get out of there, right? Or trying to cancel the mission. So you have to be able to move the deal forward and close them into staying in the conversation. This is where you're asking for the business, or you're asking. Now, when I say ask, I don't mean like, do you want to sign up today? That's not what I mean. I mean ask for the business as in you're using a close. You're using like a hard close or a soft close or an urgency close or a fear of loss close. That's what asking for the business is. A lot of people, they do this perfectly. They empathize with them and then they relate to them. And then they just chicken out and don't ask for the business. It's like crazy, right? So you need to ask for the business. You need to ask them to get to the next step. This is the simple part. I just need your name, email, phone, address, and a couple signatures. We'll get going. When you're closing here, you want to switch your closes up. All right, because you're gonna have more than one objection, unless you have a lay down. You're gonna have more than one objection come up in a presentation. All right. So when you do the A.R.C method over and over, that's why it's called the closing loop. You're going to kind of want to switch between your different types of closes, which we'll talk about in the next video. But you can't use the same close over and over and over, or else you're going to sound like robotic, or you're going to sound like you're doing like a system on them. You don't want to sound like you're doing a system. So if you start off and say, I completely understand how you feel, other people felt that same way, what they found out was insert rebuttal X. It's super easy. I just need your name, email, phone, and address. We'll get you started. You don't want to do that again in that order. Or you want to do it in that order, but not in that same verbiage. You want to say something like, oh yeah, I totally get it. Yeah, all the other people, I'm glad you asked that, because all the other people I sign up, they ask me that same thing. So it's real simple. Like I said, we can do like a morning or an afternoon for install. Which one works better for you? Same exact 1, 2, 3 A.R.C, but the words are different. Now, the golden rule of all closing. When you close, after you ask for the business, after you say morning or afternoon, after you say I just need your name, email, phone, address, whatever you're saying, I just need a signature here, whatever you're saying to close the deal, you got to stop talking. This is where you can have a long, awkward pause between you and the prospect. And you just smile, maintain eye contact, be confident, project certainty. Don't fill that void. Don't fill that weird silence. You want that silence to sit there. Because the customers, their little hamster is talking themselves into it or talking themselves out of it into another objection. Or they're saying, okay, this makes sense. Oh yeah, I totally get it. But you gotta let the hamster run for a second. What a lot of new people do, or what a lot of amateur people do, is they fill that void, and they fill that void with incentives. They start talking about, oh, we got this, we got that, we got this, we got that. You don't want to do that. You want to wait. Stop and wait. Ask for the business, and then confidently stop and wait, even if it's 45 seconds, even if it's like 2 minutes long. I've had some really long waits before after closing. And I was taught early, just stop, smile, and wait. Because if whoever's talking next is losing. Whoever speaks next is losing. So just stop and wait. There is a time to use incentives. That's right before the close. But again, if you watch any of my videos, you know how I train sales. We don't use incentives the first 1, 2, 3 times. We sell on full price. We sell on full value. There's no discounts. There's no early bird specials. There's no anything. There's no slashing. There's no, if you buy this weekend, we don't talk about any of that kind of stuff, even if we have it. We sell on full price. We stand on full price. And then once you've done the loop, you're in like round 5 of the A.R.C loop. Yeah, sure, start throwing your discounts in there. That's when you're supposed to, because you've already established value. You've already established why you are better, why you might cost more, and that's good. Oh yeah, and we have this other thing. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot. We're doing this special event. But that's on like arc loop number 4, arc loop number 5, arc loop number 7. That's when you're one at a time dropping your incentives after relate, before the close, not after the close. So repeat the ARC method for each objection. It's the same thing. A.R.C. Stop, listen, acknowledge, relate, rebuttal, close, stop, wait. Make sense? Recognize buying signs. An objection is not a no. All right? An objection is them thinking, well, what if I did have your product or service? What if in the future I did have what you're offering? That's what an objection is. They're seeing themselves like, if I have it, here's a concern I may have. So some people will view objections as, oh, they don't want it. Oh, they're not interested. That's not true. If they're not telling you straight up, no, I don't want it, no, I'm not interested, because people will tell you that, especially where we're at. They're going to easily tell you that. They're very direct. Maybe in the South, they might beat around the bush a little bit. I've sold down there too. But they're going to, if they're throwing an objection out at you, that's a buying sign. That's a potential, this is a potential yes, because they're thinking about it. I'm just going to throw in this other way in here too, because this is the older than the dinosaurs method. This is the original method that if you've been in sales, you've heard about it. If you're newer to sales, this is a great method. It keeps it very simplistic. It's the same thing, but it's just kind of in a different way, easier way to remember here. It's ICU, FFF. They have an objection. You say, I completely understand how you feel. I completely understand how you feel. Now, like I said earlier, there's a couple ways to say that. I hear what you're saying. I can see how you feel that way. I can see what you're saying, whatever it is. But you're empathetic. This is empathy. Other people that we've signed up, other people I signed up, they felt the same way. They thought the same thing. They had that same concern. Relating. And then rebuttaling. What they found out was, the cool thing is actually, oh, now with new technology, this is whatever, insert your rebuttal. But the problem with this method, it's incomplete. It's great to get halfway through it, but it's missing the call to action. So you have to close, you have to stop talking, you have to wait for a response, and then you can circle back. Same thing. Closing loop, it's missing the most important part. You gotta close, you gotta ask. Maybe this is why so many people weren't asking for the business, because they were just doing this and thinking people were gonna be like, okay, sign me up. You still got to ask them. You still got to say, okay, it's easy. It's super easy. That's why I'm here today. That's exactly why I was brought in today, to make it super simple. You have to close. You have to close. That is overcoming objections. It's really a lot easier than you think it is. It's the same thing every single time. Sure, there's specific rebuttals for specific things, but that's like one sentence. It's like one sentence. Just stick to the system, the formula. Empathize, relate, rebuttal, close, stop, and wait. Appreciate y'all coming down. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate your feedback. I love seeing the comments out there.